Welcome to Japan News AI. This week, we're diving into a pretty diverse mix.
Yeah, we've got a lot to cover today.
We've got the updated projections for the Nankai Trough earthquake.
Yeah.
Always a bit of a, well, not a fun one to start with, but important.
Definitely important.
We'll also look at some concerns in the agricultural sector, specifically some protests from farmers and some new government policies around farmland.
Right, and of course we can't ignore the economic ripples from the U.S. tariffs on Japanese goods.
Big news there. Plus, we'll touch on the opening of second baby hatch here in Tokyo.
Always a sensitive topic, but important to discuss.
Absolutely. And then we'll wrap up with an update on that espionage case involving a Chinese journalist and some pretty significant developments there. Oh, and the confirmation of the sexual assault case involving that Fuji TV announcer. Lots to unpack there.
Heavy stuff this week.
Yeah. From Tokyo, I'm Saori.
And I'm Charles. Ready to dive in.
Let's do it. Let's start with that earthquake, the Nankai Trough.
Right.
The government's come out with new projections, and, well, they're not exactly encouraging. Up to 298,000 potential casualties.
Yeah. That's a huge number. A little bit of a gut punch to start off with.
It is. It is. But, you know, it's important to remember that this is actually a decrease from the 2012 projections.
Oh, that's right, yeah. I think it was around a 10% reduction.
Right.
Which, you know, any reduction is good news.
Absolutely. Shows that the efforts they've made in terms of disaster preparedness are having some impact.
Right.
The report also makes it pretty clear that we're still a long way off from the government's goal, which is to reduce potential casualties by 80%.
Yeah. It really highlights the scale of the challenge, doesn't it?
Definitely. I mean, predicting the earthquake itself is one thing.
Right.
But then you've got the whole issue of evacuations, making sure people can actually get to safety, making sure essential services stay up and running.
Exactly. And that's where this report really puts the emphasis, right? It's all about pushing for significant changes in how we approach evacuations and the infrastructure to support those efforts.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we can't afford to be complacent.
Not at all.
All right, let's shift gears a bit and talk about what's happening in the agricultural sector. We saw those protests from farmers, rice and dairy farmers, about 3,200 of them right here in Tokyo.
Yeah, pretty dramatic stuff. Some of them even drove tractors through the city center.
Yeah, strong message. And it comes at a time when rice prices are actually at record highs.
That's what I find interesting. You'd think with high prices, farmers would be pretty content.
You would, wouldn't you? But it seems like their real concern is long-term income security.
Right. What they're really asking for is more government support. They want to be on a more level playing field with farmers in the U.S. and Europe.
Yeah, they're looking beyond just the immediate prices. It makes you think about the underlying vulnerabilities in the sector.
Yeah, it does.
And then on top of that, we have this new government policy about farmland. They're planning to prevent foreigners with visas that are about to expire from buying farmland.
Yeah, that was interesting. Kind of ties into that whole food security thing.
Absolutely. It's about preventing agricultural land from being left unused or even repurposed for non-farming activities once those visa holders leave the country.
Makes sense. Makes you realize how important it is to strike that balance. We want international connections, but we also need to ensure our own food supply here.
Yeah. Complicated issue.
For sure.
Now let's talk about those U.S. tariffs on Japanese goods. This one's got everyone talking.
Understandably so.
Hayashi, the chief cabinet secretary, called it extremely regrettable. Strong words.
Yeah, and rightly so, I think. A 24% reciprocal tariff, that's
a big deal.
It is. And the government's not just worried about the direct impact on trade between Japan and the U.S. either. They're worried about what this could do to the global economy as a whole.
Right. Protectionist measures can have a ripple effect. And we saw that ripple effect in the stock market almost immediately. The Nikkei plummeted 4%, biggest drop in 7 months.
Yeah, investors get spooked pretty easily when trade wars start brewing. It makes sense though, right? Tariffs drive up the cost of goods, potentially shrinking company profits. So everyone starts selling their stocks, just in case.
Yeah, classic market reaction. Now, in response to all this, Prime Minister Ishiba is planning to meet directly with President Trump. He wants to try to secure an exemption, especially for Japanese car exports.
High-stakes diplomacy right there.
Huge stakes. That's a crucial industry for Japan. And the government's already making preparations to support industries and workers who might be affected.
Smart move. Better to be prepared.
Definitely. And then we have Trade Minister Muto. He's been saying that Japan is considering a bold and speedy response to these tariffs.
Interesting. But not a lot of specifics yet.
No, but the fact that they're even talking about retaliatory measures suggests they're not going to just sit back and take it.
Yeah. You have to wonder what they're cooking up. Could be tariffs on specific U.S. goods, or maybe they'll take it to the World Trade Organization.
Lots of options on the table.
Definitely keeps things interesting.
All right, let's switch gears again. Something a bit different now. We've got the opening of that second baby hatch here in Tokyo.
Right.
Located at a hospital. It's basically a place where parents who find themselves in really difficult situations, facing unwanted pregnancies, can anonymously leave their newborns.
A safe haven, in a way.
Yeah. It's all about preventing babies from being abandoned in dangerous situations. And the hospital is also offering something called a confidential birth.
Oh, right. Where women can give birth without revealing their full identity, just to the hospital staff.
Exactly. It's a complex issue. The focus is on the well-being of the child, above all else.
It makes you think about the broader societal context, too. You know, what kind of support systems are in place for people in these situations?
Definitely. It's a conversation that needs to happen.
For sure.
Okay, now for some international news, but with a definite local angle. We have that Chinese journalist, the former senior editor. He's appealing his espionage conviction.
Right. He was accused of leaking information to Japanese diplomats.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is that the Japanese ambassador to China, Kenji Kanasugi, has actually written a letter to the court.
Wow.
Yeah. And in that letter, he flat out denies that any Japanese diplomats were involved in espionage.
So he's essentially backing up the journalist's claim of innocence.
Exactly. Pretty unusual for an ambassador to get involved like that in a foreign court.
Definitely speaks to the seriousness of the allegations and the potential impact on diplomatic relations.
Absolutely. This case just got a whole lot more complicated.
For sure. Makes you think about the delicate nature of diplomacy and the risks people take when they're involved in these kinds of information exchanges.
Yeah. High stakes all around.
Definitely.
Finally, let's talk about that sexual assault case involving the Fuji TV announcer. The independent committee has confirmed that the assault committed by Masahiro Nakai was work-related.
Yeah, that's a significant finding. And they didn't hold back on criticizing Fuji TV either.
No, they basically said that the company's response to the incident was inadequate and that there's a broader culture of sexual harassment within the organization.
That's damning.
It is. It really emphasizes the need for companies to take these issues seriously, to have clear procedures for handling allegations, for supporting victims.
Absolutely. And the fact that the assault was deemed work-related, that has wider applications too, legally and in terms of how we approach workplace conduct.
Definitely. It's a wake-up call, I think.
It is. Highlights the need for ongoing efforts to create safer, more respectful work environments.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that's it for this week. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. We really want to hear what you think about these topics.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts.
Take care, everyone, and we'll catch you in the next day.